Boom. I believe we're live. I hope so, at least. This is always one of those tricky games. I just try to jump on to see what happens every day because you never really know. We're going to be taking a look at Bitcoin, Litecoin, and ENJ. Thankful to all the bear members. So with that in mind, I guess let's just dive right in. Boom. Okay, so I've got Bitcoin up on the screen here. First, we'll start there. I'm just actually going to make sure we're streaming smoothly. Again, I've seemed to have more troubles with the live streaming due to being in the jungle and with the internet. It's kind of all over the place. So once I make sure I see a green signal and people giving us the thumbs up in the chat there, I'll know we're good to go. Then from there, we'll dive in. Nice. Okay, thumbs up I see coming in. Beautiful. Okay. So here's what we're keeping our eye on right now. We had been watching that trend line previously. That's when we saw Bitcoin's breakdown. This was, let's see, back on the 19th of June. TO took some time off there. For those within the private Bear 10 member, there's a lot of fun stuff going on in the background. This broke down, and we've actually been cuddled right underneath the bear claw here, and then right on the outer edges of your EMAs. So I've actually found out something fun that I didn't know about TradingView before. I'll share that all with you now. On the side here, if you actually click this thing that looks like a little calculator, it's the data window. It does show you all the different EMAs and the current prices that they're on. So here you can see we have the simple moving average on the 314 day and then the 200. So you can see the price is currently sitting at around 7,900, 7,904 for the moving average. And again, you have at the top of the bear claw here at the MA90 around 7,993. Oh, sorry, actually it's a little closer to that. It's 7,860. So these two converging lines here are going to be very important to keep an eye on over the next little while. Now, I think what's important about technical analysis is that people pay attention. It's much like fundamental analysis, except it's a different level of research that it takes for you to be able to tell what's going on in price action, why that information is valuable to you, and what you want to do to really move forward. Now, one of the things I've been learning recently that has nothing to do with trading is just basically algorithms. For instance, YouTube doesn't really like it if I don't post videos every day, pretty much, to the point where when I stop posting for a week, they significantly cut and reduce the views, thinking that we're just not as relevant anymore because of the consistency of the content. Your mic volume is very low, everyone is saying. You know, it's kind of strange. I keep turning it up on the microphone. I don't know why it's coming through so quietly. I think that's probably a little better. Doesn't want to seem to save it either, but thank you guys for the heads up on that one. I appreciate it. So the consistency here of technical analysis doesn't necessarily need you in a trade to be able to see what's taking place. And this is one of the things that I really like about it. Right? So I'm not shorting or going long Bitcoin at the moment, although technically I'm permanent bull. I mean, even though this is the Arcane Bear channel, the bears are just the smarter ones in the market generally. They've been through a few market cycles, and they know the downsides that come in play always. And they're actually quite lucrative if you know how to play them. Anyways, the point of this is, this little area right here that's converging right now on the 4-hour chart for Bitcoin is going to be very important. The fact that we didn't get above the claw here, and we are red on the 4-hour, the last time we saw red on the 4 hours back in April at around 5,200. So the next really fast intermediate line on the 4-hour is 7,000, and then if you move out to the daily, I believe it was around 6,900, 64. We'll double check here really quick. Yeah, so we actually have multiple areas, it looks like. Yeah, so back down here 5,300 and back down here at around 4,600 for the simple moving averages on the outside edge of the claw. So we could see this turn quite bearish quickly. I mean, a drop to $6,400, as we mentioned in the previous videos, is quite likely. And it's also right to the mid of the Ichimoku cloud's buy support area. We've been above the cloud ever since we broke out at 3,900 here. We didn't even get close to touching it on this last rundown. So I think really keeping an eye on the descension of price through the claw here is going to become important. You have a really strong area of buy support at 6,900, and then it drops off there below 6,100 on there as well. So these are all intermediary terms. What we want to do is just pay attention to them because they act as really key areas. Now the other important part on the right hand side here is our volume profile fill. So what I'll do today is we'll just kind of take you over some of the indicators before we dive in and take a look at Litecoin's price. But we've got the Eagle's Nest at the top here. We've got the actually I should remove this RSI here at the bottom. There's no need for this right now. And we've actually added a new one which I quite like. And the bear claw here. So the bear claw is important because it's just stacked moving averages, as you can see in the data stack over here. Your moving average 70, 65, 60, 55, 50. These are all the stacked numbers, consecutive one might say. So when learning how to do this, say I've never looked at a chart, it's really easy to get caught up in the minutia, right? I mean, actively watching the 1 minute, it's just is like hyperactive in terms of price volatility and the momentum that's taking place. And it's also actually a really important area to watch as well. So here we can actually take a look at that drop that we had previously been looking at, which with a lot more of the minutia of the price movement taking place. And right again, we're actually just touching on the top of our first simple moving average, the 200 moving average. And again, this is actually a really important moment that we're at here on this chart right now too, because if it does fall down and break through, we're coming back down to 7,800. And again, the fact that we didn't find any go above 79.35 here is especially noticeable when we roll out to the day chart for Bitcoin. And look at the volume profile again. Now the volume profile is important, like I said, when kind of looking at the minutia, because it acts as another area to understand the support and the resistance of some of the buys and sells that have taken place in the markets as a whole. So here we actually have a lot of support at 6,400 as well, but there's very little between 7,800 and 6,400, as we've got 73, gap here to 69, and then below 6,200 again, not a whole lot keeping us up until 52. And to see how these actually actively line up with the moving averages lines as well. So you actually have the bottom of the simple moving average right at the bottom of this volume profile, and the top one right at the top of this volume profile. There seems like there's a very real pattern to a step down potential here, anywhere between 4,700 and 5,300. Now I'm still under the assertion that there's no reason Bitcoin couldn't come down to 2,700 or $1,200. Those are in fact still targets that I have on the on the go. So just in case it's there, so we can pay attention. It's not necessarily it's in much lower probability than we were down when we were down here, but nonetheless it's still there. So I see a bunch of you guys are asking questions about the potentials of a cup and handle. There's no cup and handle here at all. This area of what would then have been the cup is what you're asking doesn't exist. The only way that would have happened is if we dropped down from 8,000 all the way down to 3,200, hit a cup and then handles position here. And as a matter of fact, we could actually look at a token that shows many very real cup and handle positions. They do fit the time frame here, and now I'm learning that the speed of crypto, we're seeing cup and handles form in just a week's time frame. Again, now that you have 12 extra hours in the 24-hour day plus the weekends, makes a week almost like 3 in the average trading world. So a cup and handle, now that I've seen some of them form, we can, if we actually, I'll use the last token that we are trading in the bear den together, which is one. We saw this cup and handle produce itself here, and I was actually I remember having this conversation with the bear den traders in the background, we saw a really nice cup and a handle formation here, and as soon as we broke out of the handle, we actually saw a very similar price increase, which is it should be around 30 to 60% of the entire cup. So again, we saw an exact extension of the entire cup, which was around 27%, which is also exactly what we saw to the upside. So it's essentially 100% movement, more or less, give or take, right? So this was actually a cup and handle that formed on only a week's time frame, not even just just like 3 or 4 days time frame, basically, where I would never have put that in a regular category of cup and handle, but again, because of the speed of these markets, I do believe that's a possibility. So again, we're looking at downside projections for Bitcoin, although there's a very real possibility for higher upside too. So now, instead of when I'm looking at charts, I'm not going to say, oh, there's only room for downside. There's obviously room for upside, anywhere up of $10 million, depending on what time frame you're looking at. But in these smaller time frames that we're currently on in the daily chart, there was the real possibility that we could break up to $9,000 to $12,000 if we broke above on the smaller time frames, especially noticeable on the 4 hour. Again, if we break above this volume profile indicator, boom, above this one here, this is the last vestige, and this one as well, which we need to break through at 8,000. So if we break through this at 8,000, we could continue higher, yes. If we don't and we stay below the claw, which again we haven't seen for any further length of time, this is the furthest length of time we've seen this much red in the claw since the I guess this was the Bitfinex news, etc. Back here in April. This was that sharp sell-off we saw then. This could very easily indicate that 30% sell-off that we're looking for, anywhere between 7,000 and again on the lower time frames down to around 5,100. But again, these will all be stair-step patterns, so it's nothing that is going to happen right now today, although I do suspect that if it does drop, it will be violent. If it does take off, it will be noticeable, because we'll go through this $8,000 volume profile mark, which is quite a heavy area of support and resistance currently, and then again through the 8,700. These are two important areas to keep an eye on for a potential for upside and then also downside. So Litecoin is one I wanted to take a look at because all the bear family the private bear family is having a great time with this one right now. I've actually felt a little left out, mostly because I'm working on the bear stuff. I didn't jump in a trade here, but there was definitely the on the daily possibility we were looking at here. Yeah, see, here we go. We actually even have some of our notes still left on Litecoin. These were the entry targets that we had made for Litecoin based off the previous touch of these the 200 EMA on Litecoin. So we actually, there were entries that were sent out, and then we saw this nice big spike. Now, the funny part is this is actually a beautiful spike of 53%. Now, this is a really interesting time to be in Litecoin too, because I think we might be looking at a very, very long cup and handle. This to me represents a cup and handle because you have both of the tops. I mean, it's a little bit of more of a ladle and a handle or something like this. And you could I would speculate just to cut off the top, because this was such a volatile time between January of the new year, right? This $20,000 Bitcoin price. So I would cut this off and consider this red line that we have drawn through here as more of the active support and resistance for the multi-year cup and handle. Again, we have data for Litecoin back as far as 2012, 2013, where we've been in this really long range trade. The potential has always kind of stayed stuck in here. Now we have saw massive upsides to that too, right? So we could potentially speculate that if we were to see a similar breakout on the upside for Litecoin, and this is in terms of Bitcoin price, this is not US dollar price, so I have no idea what the hell that would be. I don't even care. Is 130% potential on the upside. Now, if we just look at it as a cup and handle, there's actually a 50% upside potential here as well. So this is a very interesting play right now. Hats off to all the Bear family members who are super stoked about this one and currently in this trade. Because of that, I will go a bit more into the finite minutia of what we're looking at here. So to do that, I would like to grab my cup and handle. I go right down to the middle of the bottom of the cup, and we could, and these, I also double down on extensions here. So again, note that we said that the cup could go up around 60%. It's usually the full extension of the bottom, from the top of the cup to the bottom of the cup, so it's around 60%. So 60% upwards is actually right around the 1618 line. So we could potentially see a really nice big spike upwards of the 0.025 Satoshi mark, with spikes up to 0.028. Now again, this would be on the back of the Litecoin halvening, which is important, and we will probably make a very specific video about that later. Also, while we're at this little mid-range point, hey guys, if we make shitty content, remember to give us those thumbs down. If you like what we do, remember to give us a thumbs up. Please subscribe to the channel. Leave your comments and your thoughts below. If you're interested in finding out more about us, you can go to arcanebear.com. From there, we've actually got a bunch of new stuff we've been building for everyone as well. So actually, to show you guys here for fun, I'll take a break before I jump into Engine. But that's basically the short code on Litecoin. We will be updating our notes soon. Now, we actually started building out some of the pieces of the Academy, which is just basically going to be giving out free information. For instance, we did the Fibonacci video, as well as a big general write-up about the formulas, the fundamentals. So we're just going to continue work on producing more content for you guys. We've got other tools and resources, and then also the private Bear Den members, which is for the more engaged traders, as none of this is financial advice. What it's become is a very beautiful community and newsletter and information center where people are actively working on their theses and inspiring one another to trade together. So very, very nice to see there. You can just click here. It's $30 a month to sign up. We've had great reviews so far, but again, it's not for the average person. This is for someone who's a little bit more interested in investing their time into understanding what's going on and having a group of people there to help them while going through it. It's a really, really great place to be, and I'm very, very grateful for all the people that show up and help out. So just for fun, I'll show you actually we just produced one of the PDFs, chart patterns last month that I really liked here. I'll show you. So this is some of these PDFs will probably end up giving out for free. For now, they just sit in the private section. All the newsletter will stay there too, but we just want to give as much content away to everyone for free. So this is what we've been doing in the background. We've got our newsletters and some of our deep divers being built as well. So again, hats off to all the private Bear family members. I really appreciate it. No, nice. And Jimmy Schwartz gives us what is this? They call it the super chat. Says, thanks for all you do. You're building a slow and steady empire. Thank you, Jimmy. I really appreciate that. You guys make the Arcane Bear community what it is. I'm really grateful for that. I'm just have a pleasure to be a part of. The fact that I get the freedom to make videos and rant about my feelings and my emotions while learning about trading and being an entrepreneur and doing your taxes and all this nonsense stuff that everyone. I think when you have a community of people that are interested in it, it's just such a great way to learn and grow, and then to continually capitalize by teaching other people what you're doing. So for me, one of the reasons why I love doing this so much is because I get to go over everything that I'm learning and share those ideas, making it just that much stronger in terms of my ability to actually render the information useful. Which is great to see. So I really appreciate all the private Bear members. It's been one heck of a ride, and I really look forward to the next 2 to 10 years of growth together. We've got some really cool stuff lined up for you guys, and some really cool projects on the go that I think are really going to surprise even me, which I'm looking forward to. I always love a good surprise. So thank you for that as well. I appreciate it. So we'll dive into Engine now, which is actually, so for those of you that would like and you're interested, remember to go to tradingview.com, follow us on TradingView as well. We now have 156 followers. Thank you guys for that. This here, you can actually see some of the ideas and scripts that we post. So for instance, we had Fetch come in here. This was a great one, brought in some really nice returns. Bang, went up to the top of wave 5. It's stalled out there a little bit. Now we get to see what it does in terms of the continuation of the bear claw. We just actually sent one out for Engine too, which is what we're going to be going over today, just really briefly. If you want to download the scripts like the Eagle's Nest, the Bear Claw, or the Eagle Crossing, which is what we use in our live videos, you can do that here. Remember to give us a thumbs up. All those videos, or all these scripts, are free for you guys for now. I really appreciate Jordan helping us out in the background with creating all that. So now I'm going to dive in and take a look at Engine. As we said we would, we'll follow a little bit of a schedule here, and then we'll dive in from there. So Engine actually did something that was really nice today. We saw a lot of heavy support, and what we're currently looking at is called box accumulation in the areas between 1772 and 2020. Again, we have a lot of support and resistance on the volume profile, as you can see on the daily. That's actually slotted in here at 1884 at the bottom and takes us all the way up to 2184. After 2184, there's actually room for a large potential breakout. On the daily, it's not as noticeable because at 2400 Satoshis, we would be at the top of the cloud, which would represent a 25% gain. So this one's looking really tasty right now for this particular reason. You actually see the volume has been increasing over the last day, and more specifically, it's when you get into the minutia, like the 15-minute and the hourly chart here, that this becomes much more noticeable in why it was a really nice setup. So here we saw a really nice trend line start to form as well. There's actually a bullish divergence on the RSI, but I'm not going to load the RSI right now to look at that, so I'm just going to go from here. I actually consider this a very strong breakout pattern in the crypto world now. I've seen it multiple times, and we continue to see strong breakouts following this particular pattern. So this is basically an ascending triangle. Ascending triangles are normally continuation patterns, so we've generally seen them break down in the older stock markets, but as every market kind of fluctuates and changes, all new strategies have to be adapted to understand what's taking place. So Here we're looking at engine, and we can see that as soon as we broke out past this 1900 to 2000, well, it's around 2000, where we actually see the top of the volume indicators here, that we broke out. And it's been a small breakout so far, but it's when we look at the daily and the 4-hour chart more specifically that this starts to look really interesting. So again, here on the 4-hour, we actually had the on the 1 hour, we had our first cross of the EMA to the upside, which is also very useful. But it's actually showing the support of the bottom of all of our candles along this trend line as well, which is a really important indicator, which is why we produced that piece today. So again, when we go to the 4-hour, we can see that we also closed above the 200 simple moving average, and we've closed above it with volume now, and we're continuing to go upwards and scroll with more volume. Now if you look at the Eagles nest up at the top here, we're right at the mid-range, so we're actually showing a little bit of weakness earlier on, but this is nice to see, because this is probably, if we're it's always nice to throw an Elliott wave in there. If we're looking at a 1, a 2, a 3, a 4, a 5, we'd want to see midway weakness through the third wave anyways. This is generally where most bigger traders are going to start to really pump up the price and volume, because they're looking for a clear breakout above these previous ranges of support, which are currently sitting at 2060, 2070, and 2080. From there, breaking into the 4-hour and the daily of the top of the simple 314 moving average, and the top of the claw here, which is around 2350. Now again, there is the very real possible suspect that we go to around 24 to 2500 satoshis, which would essentially dip us into the Ichimoku cloud. So those are the I guess the general targets for engine. I believe this is the first start of the breakout. You could even so far as to speculate that this was wave 1 that we saw back out the bottom here, which would drastically change wave 3 and wave 5 potentials, but again, we won't know until we see the breakout pattern kind of continue itself outwards and onwards. So again, remember guys, if we make shitty content, remember to give us those thumb down. If you like what we do, give us those thumbs up. We hope you enjoyed it. We went over Bitcoin, Litecoin, and engine today. Again, remember to leave your comments, your thoughts. Visit us at arcanebear.com/club if you want to sign up for the private den, or just arcanebear.com. We have a newsletter as well that goes out. I actually show you guys this too. It's kind of fun. So we had our weekly newsletter go out. We're just going to post them on the website for now, because we don't want to inundate the other 5,000 people we have in the free email box quite yet, not until we've got a beautiful working product. But here you can see we've got a free newsletter that goes out weekly, and it's basically just a quick content update about all of the different, I guess, the things that are going on in the news this week. So here you click on the Samurai Wallet raises first funding round. So we're going to be producing these basically updated newsletters for everyone for free as well. So shout out to Sol for helping produce this and get it out to all the Bear family as well. So again, really appreciate all the growth in the space that we're seeing. Again, I'm so grateful for all your guys' help. Keep your eyes on the charts if you're interested in learning, because there's a lot of really cool stuff going on right now. Well, hope you had a great day, and if not yet, we hope it turns into a great day. This is Stu with the Arcane Bear, and I'm going to sign off for the rest of the afternoon. I'm hoping that everything went smoothly on the live stream. I think we've got OBS somewhat figured out now, so we should be looking forward to it. And then, bam!